What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about all of the books that I read in 2024. I have really gotten back into reading lately, and last year I read 23 books. My goal this year is 40. I'm already a little bit behind, but hopefully I can catch back up. So yeah, I wanted to just share all of the books that I've read. Hopefully I'm not missing any. I'm going off of my Instagram stories. So yeah, I did not have a good way of like keeping track of the books I read, but this year I'm gonna do Goodreads, so I have it more organized. This is in order for the year. I literally just went, like I said, off of Instagram and just checked all of my stories from the past year, so hopefully I didn't miss any. But here are the 23 books that I've read and also what I thought about them. No spoilers. I'm just gonna be reading what it says online about the book. Also to remind myself, because some of these have been, you know, a year old since I haven't read them in a year. So yeah, definitely need to remind myself what happened in a few of these books. So yeah, let's get started. Book number 1, the very first book I read in 2024 was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I'm not gonna lie, I did not love this book. I feel like it got good reviews. Let's see. It's at a 4.4 on Goodreads. Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life, but when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant for the job, no one is more astounded than Monique. I think I said Monique. Monique herself. Why her? Why now? So basically, Evelyn is talking about all of her different husbands throughout her life. I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but I did see it coming, which is why I didn't really enjoy the book. I like, you know, a big plot twist at the end, and I feel like I could just tell what was gonna happen. It has great reviews. I just personally did not like it too much. Moving on, book number 2 is From the Jump by Lacey Walden. Liv Bakersfield is used to living her life in shoulds: be fit, be financially responsible, be your best self. An overworked graphic designer, she's stretched so thin that she's about to miss yet another vacation with her group of college friends. But when Liv finally decides to start saying no, it feels good enough to leap straight into quitting her job and hopping on a plane to join them in South Africa. So that is pretty much what the book is about. I enjoyed this book. It was a very easy read. It was nothing crazy. I kind of like knew what was gonna happen, but I love books where people just completely change their life and go on some crazy adventure. So I really enjoyed this book. Again, it wasn't anything special, but I did enjoy it. It was a quick read and I liked it. So yeah, it's rated 3.68 on Goodreads. Book number 3, we have Much Ado About You by Samantha Young. The main character is passed over for promotion at work, realizes she needs to make a change. She plans a holiday in a quaint English village. The holiday package comes with a temporary position at a bookstore. So this is a romance. She meets somebody there. This one, again, very similar to the one I just mentioned. I did enjoy it. It was a quick read. It was easy. It's rated 3.67, so very close to the other one. Next up, we have Sex, Lies, and Sensibility by Nikki Payne. And I'm gonna be honest, I just read the synopsis and I do not remember this book very well, even after reading that. This says, there's never a good time to learn you are your father's secret second family, especially not at the reading of the will. The main character is going through not having a good reputation, no dad, and only a forgotten beach house in rural Maine to her name. So yeah, this is not ringing a bell. Gonna move on from that one. It's rated 3.65, so I'm guessing it was another book I read where it just, you know, wasn't the best book ever, but wasn't bad, just kind of normal book. But yeah, I'm shocked I do not remember that one. All right, next up we got The Love Plot by Samantha Young. I do remember this book. I did enjoy this book. This was basically about a girl who has a lot of odd jobs. She met this guy at one of her odd jobs she was doing, and he offered to pay her to be his fake girlfriend. I liked it. It's rated 3.8 on Goodreads. Again, another easy book. I read a lot of like easy reads, romance kind of stuff. That's my go-to. So a lot of these books kind of blend together. Next up, we have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Again, this is another romance. These two people met at a summer camp. It's a romance, so that's the premise of the book. Again, this book, I liked it. It was easy. It was kind of like all the other books that I read. I'm realizing now that I need to start reading like different books, but I do enjoy reading these, so yeah. Ooh, my leg is falling asleep. And this one was fun to read too because I spent one summer, I think it was 2019, working at a summer camp in Texas, and that was a lot of fun. It kind of just brought me back to like those camp days, and yeah, it feels like a whole different lifetime. But yeah, I enjoyed this book, nothing crazy. Next up, I actually have a physical copy to show you guys. This one is called The Wrong Family by Tarryn Fisher. Have you ever been wrong about someone? Juno was wrong about Winnie Crouch. Before moving in with the Crouch family, Juno thought Winnie and her husband had the perfect marriage, the perfect life, the perfect son. Only now that she's living in their beautiful house, she sees all the cracks, and yeah, that's basically, she hears things she shouldn't have heard, and that is the part of the book. This book I really enjoyed. I don't know if I just missed a section. Okay, I'm gonna try to describe this without spoiling anything. I don't know if I missed this part of the book just because I wasn't paying attention or if it was intentional by the author, but there was a point in the book where I realized something and it made the book a whole lot better. So yeah, again, I don't know if that was just me missing it because I'm dumb or the author intentionally not giving that away or like trying to make you figure it out on your own. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book and would definitely recommend. This was one of my like top books of the year. So yeah, actually I'm curious what it is rated. Dun, 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 dun. This is rated 3.4. I'm shocked. Yeah, that's a little bit lower than I thought, but I really enjoyed this book. Definitely recommend. All right, next we have Fourth Wing. I am not even gonna read the synopsis because I feel like this book is very popular, but I did read Fourth Wing, only the first one. I have not read the other ones yet. I should. That genre is not my normal or my preferred genre to read, but I did enjoy it. It took me a while to get through. First of all, it's a pretty large book if I remember correctly, and second of all, anything that has to do with like fantasy, I feel like I have to read slower because I just process it a little bit slower. Like normally all of my normal like romance books, I kind of just skim and like I can miss, you know, things here and there and still like understand what's happening. But for Fourth Wing, I had to like really just like hone in on like what I was reading. I really enjoyed it. I do need to read the rest of them. I don't even know how many books there are. All right, next we have Almost Adulting by Arden Rose. This is more of like a self-help kind of book. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I ever finished this book, so I might be cheating a little bit. I don't remember. This just talks about like getting your life together and productivity and like that kind of stuff. I love reading these kinds of books. Like I said, I don't know if I actually finished this. I wonder if oh yeah, I did not finish this book. Okay, I have the book cover here. I'm about like halfway through, so yeah, that's weird. Normally I just completely finish the book before moving on, but okay, well, I read 22 and a half books this year. All right, my camera just stopped recording. The next book is Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. And this was written in COVID time frame. This woman goes on a planned getaway to the, I'm not gonna say this right, Galapagos. Galapagos? I do not know how to say that, but the chain of islands.
Galapagos.
Galapagos, okay, I said it right. This woman goes to the Galapagos and has a bunch of stuff happen, and then there's a huge plot twist in the middle of the book that I really liked. I enjoyed this book, would recommend. I feel like it's a little bit outdated now because even though COVID's still happening, this was written in the time where it was, you know, 2020. So yeah, I feel like it's a bit outdated now, but I still really enjoyed it. And yeah, like I said, great plot twist. Next up, we have Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano, however you say that. First of all, the cover of this book is beautiful. Love it so much. I did really enjoy the book as well. A guy named William Waters, who grew up in a house silenced by tragedy where his parents could hardly bear to look at him, much less love him. So it's a relief when his skill on the basketball court earns him a scholarship to college far away from his childhood home. He soon meets Julia, a spirited and ambitious young woman who surprises William with her appreciation of his quiet steadiness. So basically, Julia has her family that she's very close to, and William did not have that at all. So it's basically how, you know, they get together, how William's past comes back to the present. I really enjoyed this book. Definitely different than what I normally read, but I am very glad that I read it. Yeah, it's rated 4.15 on Goodreads. All right, next we got another physical book. This one is Just the Nicest Couple. I really enjoyed this book. I read this, I think my mom actually bought this for a plane ride, and then she finished it, and then I read it, and I read like the whole thing on our travel day. This is a thriller. It kept me on my toes the entire time. I could not put this down. Definitely want to read some more books by this author. I think this is the only book I've read by her so far, so yeah, I want to look up some other ones, but I really enjoyed this book. It was an easy read, but it really pulled me in and just kept me on my toes the entire time. So yeah, definitely recommend that. Next up is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. And I'm not gonna lie, all of her books kind of blend together for me. I feel like every one that I've read is an enemies to lovers sort of book with science related stuff in there. So this one, for example, the main character wanted to work for NASA and had to work with this guy, and they didn't get along at first, and then, you know, it turns into romance. And yeah, it was a good book. It's rated 3.9, but I think this was the first one I read from her, so I didn't know like kind of her style before this, but it was an easy read. I liked it. Yeah, that's about it for that one. All right, next we got Love, Lists, and Fancy Ships by Sarah Grunder. And I actually read this while I was on a cruise, so yeah, had that ship in the book, you know, I had to match it up with the cruise. But basically the main character works on a yacht, and she has been attempting to complete a bucket list of 30 things she wants to accomplish by her 30th birthday. She's basically on track, and then something happens, throws her off, and the whole book is about that. But yeah, I really like this one. I like that I was reading it on a ship while she was also on a ship. I felt very connected to the character. All right, next up we got Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This was my first Emily Henry book. This was another one where it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was kind of just easy read. Main character Nora, her life is books. She's read them all, and she is not that type. What? Okay, I got confused for a second. Okay, this is another romance, and they meet at a bookstore, and things happen as they do in a book. Yeah, they have some like weird history, and then it's kind of like another enemies to lovers type book. Again, I enjoyed it. Nothing crazy, nothing bad, just simple. Next we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Again, this was an enemies to lovers science related book. Very similar to the other book that I read by her. Yeah, I could kind of tell what was gonna happen, but it was fun to read, so I enjoyed it. Next up we have Slaughterhouse-Five, and I think this book was the farthest away from my preferred genre that I've ever read. I am not a huge history person. I probably would not have read this book if it wasn't for book club, because this was our book club book, but I'm very, very glad that I read it. I did not completely understand all of it, I'm not gonna lie. It is about World War II. Like I said, I'm not a huge history person. I know history is very important. I'm just not a big reader when it comes to history books, but I thought this book was very interesting. I only read this book one time, and I feel like I need to read it 10 more times to really understand it, because it was all over the place, but I think that's the point of the book. So it follows the life of Billy Pilgrim, and he is basically just saying his thoughts with like no rhyme or reason. But the whole point of the book is, you know, he's going through a tragic experience and he is kind of just talking about how he feels. So it's gonna be all over the place. I don't know if I explained that very well. I did enjoy it. I think I would enjoy it more if I read it more and understood it more. And also, you know, if I like really delve deep into all of the history and how it like connects and everything. But yeah, I am very glad that I read it. It's rated at 4.1 on Goodreads. All right, next we have Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This was another one of those books where it's just an enemies to lovers. This one had to do with ice skating. So the girl wasn't a figure skater and the guy was a hockey player. I mostly just read this because I really want to get into figure skating. So that was kind of my reason for picking this book up. It was good, nothing crazy. Wasn't my favorite book ever. Also wasn't terrible, just kind of a normal book that I read. So next we have another Ali Hazelwood book. This one is called Love Theoretically. Again, this is the same premise as her other books, which is romance with science. So yeah, I can't even think about what made all of the books different. To be honest, but I did enjoy reading it. It was just another one of those kinds of books. Next up, we have Fumbled by Alexa Martin. This was my first book that I read by her, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very easy read. I think I read this in like 2 days, maybe. It was about a single mother who moved across the country, ran into someone from her past who plays football. It's basically how they reconnect and that whole story. So yeah, definitely an easy read, and I liked that book. All right, next we have another book club book. This one is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This book was very frustrating, but I'm very happy that I read it and I really enjoyed it. This was written by Jacqueline Hartman, and she fled to Casablanca with her family during World War II. And so this book is kind of talking about the war, but in a way of like the characters have no idea what's going on. So I'm just gonna read it because it's kind of hard to explain. Deep underground, 39 women live imprisoned in a cage, watched over by guards. The women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, and only a vague recollection of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night and numberless years pass, a young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone and outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape and survival in the strange world that awaits them above ground. I really enjoyed this book, first of all, because it was translated from French, and second of all, it gave me absolutely like no answers that I wanted, which normally does not happen in a book. I feel like I at least get like some info, you know, at the very end, like some things tie together, but this book did not tie anything together at the end, but that was the point of the book. It was very frustrating not getting all the answers, but I'm also glad I read it because you don't always get the answers and you have to live with that. All right, I got 2 left. I'm gonna start with the very last book that I read of the year and then go to the other one because I want to end on this book because it was my favorite book of the year. So yeah, starting off with the last book that I read. This one is The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss. And I read this during Christmas time, so yeah, this was just like a cute little Christmas romance. She signed up to be a part of this dating thing, I don't know, agency, I guess you could call it, and they pair her up with 12 different dates. So this story was about her going on each date and like what happened, and of course there's a little plot twist. It's super cute, and yeah, just a fun little read. And then the very last book and my favorite book of the year is The Measure by Nikki Erlich. This book was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, my top book of the year. And yeah, my aunt actually gave this to me. I've never heard of this before. She said that she thinks I would like it, and boy was she right. I'm just gonna read the back because I don't know. I can't explain it as well as the back does. It seems like any other day. You wake up, pour a cup of coffee, and head out. But today, when you open your front door, waiting for you is this small wooden box. This box holds your fate inside, the answer to the exact number of years you will live. There's a little bit more on the back, but that is the main idea of the book. It basically talks about people who decide to open their box, people who decide not to look at it, kind of just what would happen in the world if we all knew when our life would end. It was very, very interesting. I mean, there were parts of this book where the author just hit it like right on, you know, like if this happened in our world today, that is exactly what would happen, is like what happened in the book. It makes you think about life. And yeah, when I was reading this, I was like, oh my goodness, like, you know, how long is my life gonna be? Have I done everything that I wanted to do? Like all of this stuff. And I'm like, you really gotta live your life to the fullest. Like I was having a time getting through this book. It was really, really good. I definitely recommend it. And I feel like no matter what you like to read, you would like this book. I mean, it has to do with all of us and all of our lives and everything. So yeah, it was very good. And yeah, that was the last book that I read this year. So I hope you guys enjoyed this book video. I've never really done a book video before, so hopefully you guys liked it. I'm gonna put my Goodreads down below because that's where I'm gonna be putting my 2025 books. With that being said, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys in my next one.